Chapter 115 Cliff Camp, the night before. After leaving Sheridan, I search around but find no recent traces of the natives. Most of their patrols must have retreated after I killed the first one, and nobody else tries to set up an ambush. I find quite a few watchtowers but no trace of the forest being exploited for wood, or food, not exactly a surprise when nothing larger than a mouse remains. I make my way back to base camp shortly before dawn and find Siren waiting for me in my tent, by the sarcophagus. Yes? Nirari. Follow. I stare askance at the tall shaman. She bends slightly. Nirari. Follow. Please. Siren begs. I feel a tug, the barest hint of fate urging me on, and it has never failed me yet. Well, there was that time where it sent me on a collision course with my sire and his damned servant, but that was a necessity. Probably. It remains that her request has weight. It must be answered. I cannot afford to ignore my instincts given Sheridan's involvement. I grab my weapons backpack and follow the fishwoman out. She turns only once to see if I am following, and that is after crawling through an opening into the cliff barely large enough for her muscular frame. We are in a damp cave lit by glowing mushrooms. A rotten pile of supplies lines one of the walls. Siren sighs heavily. She is tense. I can taste her weakness in the air. She turns and leaves. I follow her through a network of small caverns, many of those crudely excavated. She knows the path well. Even when the tortuous tunnels take unexpected turns, her slithers never falter. Siren comes from here, I realize now. She is familiar with the place. How far from her home she must have been when she found me? How desperate. I can tell now from the frantic determination of her movement that this is what she had been waiting for. Eventually, we stop in a large circular cavern with a pond at its core. Blue mushrooms emit an appeasing radiance and paint the walls in strange patterns of color. Siren rummages behind a pillar and shows me a tight sleeping place cleverly hidden behind a stone. Nirari sleeps. Siren watches. Tomorrow. Nirari hunts. My caution screams at me not to believe the strange fishwoman, but I know in my essence that she will die before betraying me. I hide my supply backpack and my spear behind another column and tuck myself in for the day. It is afternoon now. The cavern possesses a timeless quality that soothes my mind, even if I can feel the cruel orb traveling through the sky from beyond layers of rock. I recover my gear and follow her, until we arrive at a crossing. She goes left, but I stop her and point right. She tilts her strange, flat face. I felt another tug. This one was important, vital even. Instinct. I inform the fishwoman. She follows. There is no need for me to explain. She understands magic better than any of our own customs. My steps guide me up until I find light blocking my path. Sunlight is a curious thing, when it is so diffuse. The frail radiance here is but a reflection of a reflection, not the purge of direct rays that torched my sight back in Alexandria. It still carries with it a hint of blister and the taste of ash. I stop. What now? I feel like I am in the right place. Above, there is the bang of a discharged firearm. What? And then I hear it. Curses and the impact of armor-covered flesh on stone. Oh. Fuck. Shit. No. Jesus. Fucking. I step forward, blinking owlishly against the pallid glow coming from above. I jump and grab Sheridan before he can land painfully. I end up on the other side of the passage with the ranger in my arms. He is breathing hard. Well, look just what fell into my lap. By God. Ariane. Yes. I think my back is broken. He would be screaming if it were. I put him on his feet and inspect the cause of his worries. I find the characteristic round mark of a shot. It must hurt like hell. That is where his fears come from. It is not broken, I tell him, as I feel rage filling my heart. It feels broken. I tisk. Have you ever had a broken back? No. Then how can you tell? He turns around, blinking like a mole, and I realize that it is too dark for him to see. He lifts one arm and waves it around, then repeats it for his other arm. He moves his shoulders around. Huh? Who shot you? I ask. That little fucking backstabbing rat. I will snuff out his sniveling life with my own 2 hands, I swear. My anger recedes. It is the vessel's prey. How do we get back up, anyway? He asks. We do not get back up. Siren and I have unfinished business. You do? Yes. I realize what Siren is. She bowed. She asked. The strange fishwoman is a supplicant. Lead the way, I tell her. The shaman moves up as if nothing had happened. Our path is slower now, since I have to hold Sheridan by the hand so that he does not bump against every wall. My vassal is clearly eager to pursue his vengeance, and yet, he does not object even once to being left in the dark. Metaphorically. The caverns start to widen soon enough and to show signs of passage. The light remains minimal and the silence absolute, until I see our destination. We arrive on a balcony overlooking a breathtaking scene that I would have never anticipated. The mountain is hollowed out. A giant cavern of amazing size hides within its mineral envelope, and with it, the strange dwellers of the island have built their den. I watch with interest as the strange beings cobble together anything they could find to assemble a phantasmagoric construct of wood, rock, and shells held together by faith and moldy ropes. Shipwrecks tied to ancient statues lean dangerously over edifices smashed together in one pathetic hovel of a city. The spectacle further lowers them in my esteem. If they had spent millennia in isolation, I would have given them the benefit of the doubt, but they had seen the wonders of the outside world and decided to salvage it to make pigsties. Ha! There is not a spark of innovation, of insight, in this entire place. Not one of the precious qualities that we love and admire in humans. They are scavengers and cockroaches, barely better than animals. I shake my head as Siren stops by the opening to meditate. I cannot approach anyway. Pure sunlight descends from a crater in the city's center. This land is forbidden to me. For now. Why did you bring me here, Siren? Nirari. Grants. Life and death. We wait. Then, I show. She knows the place for sure. The question then is, Siren, how did you find me? The dreams show you, and the black one. You, better. The little shaman is a seer as well. It would appear that they do enjoy dragging me into their games. She is correct, of course. My sire would not let time-consuming requests distract him from his goal. We settle down for a few hours. Sheridan tells me of the events of the day in a low voice as afternoon goes on. Miranda ran into the woods. Do you think that they will manage to catch her? Perhaps. I am not entirely sure about how godlings work with death, only that it is a possibility. I will look for her when we are done with our current task. I hope she makes it. She is arrogant and stuck up, but she has courage and her heart's in the right place. If Sheridan had died, her heart would be all over the place by now, as would the rest of her internal organs. Follow, Siren finally requests, and we leave the balcony behind. To yet another side tunnel. The path leads down this time, and soon we hear the roar of the sea. The stench is abominable. I have had worse and merely stop breathing while Sheridan swears softly and covers his mouth and nose with a scarf. I give him credit for his iron stomach. Others would have succumbed to nausea by now. We end up in what has to be this place's sewers. I am thankful for my boots being so thick. The path broadens until we arrive at the lowest point of the city. As we enter the large cavern, I notice an opening to the sea on our left, and something else that surprises me. There are fishmen and fishwomen swimming in and out of the secret cove's entrance. They appear sick. Their scales do not share the luster common to their brethren, and their postures are down and submissive. The sight immediately fills me with disgust. Fishmen are predators and man-eaters. It is an established fact. A known fact. Every interaction I have had with them always ended in bloodshed and slaughter. To see them desperate and submissive fills me with a deep sense of unease and anger. I would not mind slaughtering an entire tribe in battle, because it would be the proper order of things. I would not impose their current fate on them unless I was overcome with rage. Perhaps that is why I have been reluctant to create cattle unless I had to prove a point. I turn back to Siren to ask questions, and instead find her physically struggling. She is holding her coral armband in one hand and fights on to keep moving, her eyes glazing over before a good shake allows her to trudge on. I do not know what is wrong with her. Even Sheridan appears affected. He stares at the shaman's back with worried curiosity, one hand on his revolver. Our ailing companion guides us through the worst part of the shanty town, and everywhere we see more of the same. The fish folks are occupied with menial tasks, and otherwise kept in cramped, squalid cages mired in filth by patrolling creatures that we avoid. I see sores and open wounds on their backs and limbs. Some of the older members of this tribe have been amputated. Jesus, Sheridan whispers, as we see some of the primal humans drag a screaming child to a slaughterhouse. We do not react yet. Both my vassal and I can tell that Siren decides the best course of action is to continue, for now. I wonder why they take such terrible treatment without complaint, and if it relates to the strange mood affecting our guide. As we move further into the city, the full extent of the tribe's sufferings becomes even more obvious, and the heart of this ignominy is the breeding pen. I am forced to avert my gaze as I pass it by, so dreadful the state of the fishwomen is. So humiliating. I have seen atrocities before, of course. What really affects me is the casual cruelty involved in the treatment of the prisoners, the systematic destruction of everything that qualifies them as people. I push away the sights and the small voice at the back of my head telling me that such things exist everywhere, and that I have just closed my eyes to it. Sheridan is to blame. He is turning me more human. Siren slithers between two sentries and goes deeper into the shanty town. As time passes, I start feeling it as well. Something is spreading an impressive aura over the entire town. It is not attuned to me, hence why it took me so long to detect it. I can still taste it in the air. Despair. Void. Apathy. A sort of drunkenness that robs the will and smothers the flame of life. It is a detestable thing. It violates the spirit of the hunt. Disgust is replaced by anger inside of my heart. The whole city is a sore on the face of the earth. It is lucky, then, that it would be made so poorly. My hands contract into claws as we move on and Sheridan's heartbeat rises in answer. We fan the flames of each other's anger the more our exploration goes on. The betrayal. The abuse we see. The extent of the primal human's disdain for their prey. They mix and merge in a torrent that cascades from him to me, then back again. It takes all I have not to hiss. We finally arrive before an out-of-the-way cavern. The three of us kneel behind a stone looking over an opening in the sheer wall in front of which wait two primals in wood armor, their faces hidden behind elaborate clay masks. Apathetic fishmen and women lie in dejected piles around it. They stare into nothingness, overwhelmed by the powerful aura radiating from the mouth of the passage. Siren is shivering now. She holds her coral armband in a deathly grip. It is, I realize, her focus. She has been casting without reprieve to fight off the deleterious influence of the spell. When she lifts her flat, ugly head to me, her eyes are filled with tears. Nirari gives life. And death. Please, give life back. Supplicant. There is no need to bargain now. There is no need to make a deal. The urgency is too much. I shall grant you this boon. I move down. The two sentries turn to me. I slap the first one's head off and plant my hand into the second one's chest. His lifeblood spills from his silent lips. The scent of the red nectar permeates the air. The fish people's nostrils flare, but they cannot fight yet. The chain on their mind is too heavy and the source is right here, behind a grate of rusted iron. I grab the obstacle and bend my knees. I channel the nataless and werewolf essences and pull with a grunt of annoyance. Metal moans and cracked mortar pops. Behind, there is an old fishman attached to a rock under the malevolent glare of a smoldering red herb. A pendant adorns his skeletal chest and a scepter lays by his side. This is the source of the spell. I can taste it better now, and my outrage only grows. Whoever designed this was an artist, a jeweler of constructs. The weave is subtle and well made. The delicate work was designed to subdue and calm targets based on a specific pattern of target. Another caster attuned the spell to the old one below, and now it has grown bloated, festered, a perversion of its intended purpose. I feel it then, the pull of fate. Magic is a fickle thing. It can be pulled and controlled, but sometimes it wants things to move and it wants cages to break. I do not believe I have ever felt my aura move so fast, nor the world respond to it quite so easily. The power courses through my gauntlet and I let it take over. I allow the will of the world to act through me and in return, I am rewarded. Power flows like a torrent. The light of the moon through the crater takes on a purple hue. So is the chain by hand unbound. The teeth unclenched and trident found. The mark on your head I erase. No tears to shed, and hell to raise. The orb cracks. Tie collar. The orb shatters, and the crimson radiance spreads slowly, kept whole for the inevitable swing of the pendulum. The old man before me awakes, fixing me with milky white eyes. Her tongue darts to taste the air. Siren joins me, her head held high and her emotions raw. She places a trembling hand on the old man's jaw. They join their forehead and stay like this for a breath as the world stands on the edge. Then, Siren steps back and grabs the heavy scepter from the ground. The man closes his eyes. "Thank you," he says. Siren caves his skull in. She approaches the body as it is still racked with tremors, and grabs the pendant. She puts it on. Siren is queen now, she tells me. Nirari gives life back. Now, give death. We follow. We will always answer the call. Supplicant. Bargain struck, I inform her with a smile. I know I show my fangs and eagerness, and she sees, and she does not care. Sheridan waits outside surrounded by intensely focused fish folks, two of them already bearing the dead sentry's spears. He is unafraid and so they leave him alone. The red mist of the orb spreads around them and their wounds close, not completely, but enough. There is a glint in their dark eyes when there was nothing before. They flick their tongues and taste blood. Siren stands before them and they await, but they do not cower. She opens her bag and rummages through it. I turn to Sheridan and open my own to show the contents. Wow. I place a box of silver cartridges before him. Enchanted bullets with an extra shred spell. Help yourself and don't skip, because we are going to have a battle on our hands. I stare at him as he empties his two remaining revolvers. One of them is missing, and loads the bullets with malicious intent. Tell me, Sheridan, on a scale from 1 to 10, how angry are you? The Solid Ranger looks at me with grim determination. Lady, I'm about pushing in 11 right now. You want in on the party? You could not stop me from joining. All right, I tell him. I remove the needle rifle's 2 parts from my bag and screw the barrel on, then I hand it to him as well as a belt of cartridges and a set of grenades. Is it my birthday already? Sheridan, I tell him, with deadly seriousness, I need to inform you of an important fact. We vampires never fully reveal ourselves with humans around because it would attract too much attention. We hide our powers and restrain ourselves. He waits for me to continue, not quite yet getting the point. There are no humans around, I finish. Oh. You are going all out. Yes. Yes, I am. You will have to go with it and not let yourself be distracted. No worries, I got your back. and if you see one of those heathens' heads spontaneously explode, don't be alarmed. It's me. We nod to each other and he finishes gearing up. I turn to Siren as two burly fishmen finish tying pieces of wood together in a strange pattern. It is like a staff with a reversed triangle on top. I wonder what purpose it will serve, until Siren removes a roll of fabric from her bag. She sticks it to the prepared support and I realize that it is, in fact, a flag. Made from human skin. Pirate, to be precise. It has my sigils on it, inscribed in an ink so dark it swallows the light. The gesture is so touching and attentive that I raise my hands to my chest in delight. Such a delicate attention. Nobody has ever done that for me yet. Then Siren grabs the flag and lifts it on her shoulder. She hands me a massive conch. Nirari starts hunt. We follow. We kill. We feast. A horn to blow to start the hunt? If she were a man and had a ring now I would be doomed, flat face or not. I examined the nice piece as the fishmen gather around. I see a red radiance in the air where the backlash from the shattered orb suffuses their bodies. They are hounds waiting to be unleashed, though they do not know it yet. The conch is no artifact, merely an ancient work of exquisite craftsmanship. Nothing says that I cannot use it for my own design, however. I raise my gauntlet and call an illusion spell, in the same spirit of those I used to spread darkness or baiting lights, but this time I use it to make my voice louder. I need them to hear and feel. The tongue does not matter. The magic will carry my intent through crags and cages and murky water. I merely need to seize it. The world is still waiting and now, it pays attention to. Hunters of the Abyss. The diffuse light reflects on dark eyes, like a constellation on the bleak background. Sharpen your claws and lick your fangs. Smell the itcher in the air. Hear the call. Cast off your chains. Tonight is the night when the dream ends. A symphony of violence, an orgy of bloodshed. The great hunt has returned. I blow the conch. I did not plan for it, but the mournful sound is amplified by the magic as well. It rolls over the shanty, slams against its many walls, only to bounce back louder, stranger, until the echoes mix and 1,000 angry hosts answer the call of the hunt. The other side answers. Gates crash and war cries resonate throughout the unholy capital as masked, fallen men muster their own forces. Their strange cry fights back against the tide. It sounds like auto, which I cannot get used to. To the cages, I say. We move fast. Already, fish folks overwhelm the few patrols present in the lower levels with savage fury, swarming them in great masses of teeth and claws. I barely slow down to slay those who still stand. Siren is by my side, waving the flag proudly, and the awakened mass swells at our back in an unstoppable wave. We encounter our first pocket of resistance just as we approach the cages, with primals standing in a line with spears raised. We crash into them and do not slow down. The violence of the slaughter is stupefying. Fish folks are stronger than humans, I find, and the defenders are slain and dismembered in moments. The ground beneath us turns red. The cages lay in front of us, rattled by their irate occupants as the free fishmen fight guards in a chaotic hand-to-hand battle. Go open the cages, I'll take care of the reinforcements, I tell Sheridan. Got it, he replies. He twirls his guns in excitement. He did not do that before. Am I changing him as well? Whatever. The ranger sprints and shoots off the first rudimentary lock. The enchanted bullets demolish the rusted metal with ease. He opens the first door and a sea of folks adds their anger to the conflict. I direct the bulk of our troops to a large avenue leading up, to the upper floors of the blighted mess of tide shipwrecks. Fish folks crash into the buildings to our sides, ramming through the moldy wood as if it were paper. We meet the first real opposition very quickly. Farther into the town, we find a plaza leading to a strange altar of bones at the back, and it is filled with natives as we approach it. There are bowmen on the walls of the nearby edifices. Sheridan angles right without a word and somehow manages to convince a tall fishman warrior to give him a lift by scowling mightily. We are close now, a wall of scaly flesh moving forward and up. The line of spears is just before us, at least 5 men deep and supported by taller warriors in wood armor and more elaborate masks. Sorcerers agilate them, ancient foci held high. We cannot stop. We must not stop. I need to find something inspiring to say to start the charge, for posterity. Rend the flesh from their bones. Ah, oops. At least, it worked. The massive fishman sprints forward and I cast a spell I have never used in a combat situation before. Shield. Obsidian-tipped arrows slam harmlessly into my erected defenses. They would never pierce Loth's armor, but Siren is just behind me and I do not want her to die. The fish folks bleed and die as arrows rain from above and from behind the enemy lines. They scream and hiss, but they do not stop. I crash into the line of spearmen and cut 3 in half with a single swing. Flay. A shaman screams when the skin is ripped from his muscles. I grab the mangled form as it falls and devour it as, all around me, the melee is joined. Smaller, more agile fishwomen climb the buildings to dislodge the archers, throwing their screaming forms into the blender below. Every 2 seconds, a thunderous bang erupts and an officer or an archer falls with their chests skewered and their heads blown off. Our onslaught is unstoppable. I barely have to intervene. To their credit, the primals do not relent. More of their numbers join the fray every second, grabbing spears and rocks from the hands of the fallen and throwing themselves at us with wild abandon. Women jump on fishermen warriors to drag them down while their peers stab them both, and still, they sing their strange cry with unwavering faith. This is a battle of annihilation. I drift across the battlefield, eliminating priority targets and supporting ailing fighters. I laugh and jeer as blood covers my armor in a thick red coat. It is inevitable. And finally, we push them back. Their mass climbs the steps to the altar and spreads left and right until I see it. On a platform of bone, atop a throne of skulls, sits a large form clad in black armor. The statue does not move as its sycophants die in droves. Your god will not save you, I bellow. Time to end this. I shall destroy that stupid effigy and break their spirits. I move forward and sweep with my spear to cut the head off. And then I am sent flying. Oof. Ow. I am in the air. What just happened? I twist on myself and land feet first on a nearby ship deck. The planks crunch and groan under the impact, but they do not break and I can witness the unbelievable spectacle before me. The statue moved. The statue moved. No, impossible. It must be a golem then. I cannot feel its aura. The imposing black armor walks forth ponderously and the fish folks waver. The primals now fight with an impossible frenzy, screaming Otto at the top of their lungs. All our fighters retreat in a confused mass. All except for Siren. She stands in her place, unmovable even as the fighters surrounding her try to drag her back. She slams her battle standard into the altar and glares up, defiant. I extract myself from the planks and sprint forward as fast as I can manage it. The wind screams in my ear. The golem lifts a heavy fist. No you don't. Shatter. I punch the descending limb with my own gloved gauntlet. The spell detonates on impact, sending shards of black metal everywhere. Siren still hasn't moved. Second round, I declare with a smile. Finally. A challenge. I roar and kick the armor back, barely displacing it, but Siren is smart and retreats now that I have returned. The combatants leave a ring for the construct and I to settle our contest. Blood flows on the ground, turning it crimson. I dodge and move around my ponderous foe. I have fought large enemies before and close in on it instead of trying to create a distance, relentlessly attacking the weak points in the thick armor to get at the fragile articulations. Its plates are thick, but Sivea's spear tip is unnaturally sharp. I chip at the chinks piece by piece, never stopping, never getting hit. The golem has an impressive range of movements. It does not matter. I am faster, and I have sparred with the likes of Himina, Nami, Tauran. This thing does not even come close. It finally happens. I manage to lock the blade in the weak point under the golem's arm and push in. I feel a resistance. I feel it hit something. The construct stumbles back on one knee. The fish folks roar in triumph, but the primals do not relent. And then, the golem does something that surprises me. Its two damaged gauntlets reach for the helmet, and remove it. Then, every piece of armor is patiently peeled off. I stare in wonder at the man thus revealed. I do not understand. How? And then my gaze lowers to my spear and its tip. The deadly blade is covered with thick, black blood. The smell hits me an instant later. The chest piece falls, revealing the lean and muscular form of a very tall man. He has white blonde hair that falls to his shoulders, a handsome face with a square jaw and two piercing blue eyes that open and blink in confusion. Ah. Fuck. Who wakes Otto, Lord of the Arenwald? Huh. That is unexpected. Thoroughly unplanned for. He must have masked his aura, or perhaps he was asleep? The glare zeroes on me. His pale lips in a feigned smile. A little devourer. The man extends a right hand, materializing a soul weapon like a giant billhook. His aura explodes outwards and buffets us all. The primal assault renews with boundless intensity. This is a lord. A bloody lord in the middle of some deserted island. What in the world? Ah damn it, I should have attacked when it was changing. I was too surprised to react and missed the window. Curses. Let us dance, little devourer. I could no more cut and run than I could face the sun. I must kill him, or at least, I will try. Nothing to it. I grab my spear and charge. Our blades meet and I back out to run to the side. We have a similar reach, but his weapon is definitely heavier and I have no interest in a fencing contest. I use the movements that Nami taught me to smack his blade aside for an opening, trying to get a hit in. He is fast, but not so fast that I cannot follow, and his style feels designed to fell heavier foes, with movements meant to crush and disembowel in one strike. I prevent him from catching me in his rhythm with quick attacks that he must block. Black blood still seeps from below his right armpit. Sevea's blade has a nasty bite. First blood is mine when the hook slides over my shoulder armor to the man's surprise. His eyes widen and he dodges, but I still manage to trace a dark line across his chest. Not bad, little devourer. Let us see if your luck holds. The Lord shortens his hold on the billhook and now fights more defensively. I know that one too. I move a bit farther and strike in more sweeping gestures, using my now superior range to harry him. I cannot pass his guard, but he cannot strike me either, and I have time. One mistake, and he manages to grab the tip in his hook. He slams the weapon down into the altar to crush the pole, snapping it out of my hand. The bones give in, but the metal holds. It is made of an enchanted alloy of steel and silver that I reinforced to the brim. It could support the weight of a house. I did not want my weapon broken again. Lord Otto's face turns in surprise again, and I lodge a throwing knife just below his eye, missing the organ by a hair. He smirks and throws the spear away. Call. The spear returns to my hand as if dragged by a magnet. Your tricks annoy me, little devourer. I like it when you whine, I retort, and the dance resumes. The Arenwald Lord pulls the dagger from his cheek and throws it back, but he clearly does not know how to use it, and the strike goes wide. Our fight resumes, neither of us gaining the advantage, until he manages to hook my arm. The blade bites into my armor, drawing blood. I turn on myself and kick the Lord in the face before he can use it to his advantage and go in close. He disengages and I free myself in the same movement. During the fight, I let my instinct and my intuition guide me, avoiding tricky attacks and surprising bursts of speed at the last moment. I have to use every trick in the book, but we are evenly matched. Time is on my side. Around us, the primals are dying. Without fear and without hesitation, but they are dying. The fish folks are still pushed forward by the spell and the years of pent-up rage. Sheridan methodically picks off their leaders and spellcasters, one shield piercer at a time, leaving them disorganized. I can see Otto's eyes wander. He pushes me back with a mighty swing and turns to Siren. Flay. I use the Lycian terms. No holding back. The spell hits the soul weapon and disperses, but some of it splashes over the vampire's pale chest and more wounds come to adorn it. I am pressing him. I am pressuring him, a lord. The cold joy of battle fills my essence and my focus sharpens to an edge, because he still has a trump card and this is far from over. I will not let my guard down. I will harry him and take him down, and I will not leave him a chance, because I am a patient hunter. The Arenwald changes once more. He attacks with very wide, very powerful swings, and some of those kill my warriors. I merely place myself in a position to capitalize on the openings he provides. Siren has seen the way she was targeted and once more placed herself deeper into the formation. Those he slays are of no consequence to me and I punish every attack, even if he avoids mortal danger. This lord is weakened. By what, I do not know, but he is no match for some of the fighters I have faced over the years. His wounds add and his mobility is affected. I see victory on the horizon. It will not be long now. You are persistent. Give it up, old man. Playing God has made you soft. His traits twist with rage. You have come here with a ship. It must be intact. I believe I will take it in return, now. See how much the world has changed. You had every opportunity to return before, you decrepit husk. You were either too passive or too scared. His fury warps his aura. I move low as the fateful incantation begins. You overreach, pup. You still have much to learn. Magna Arca. In the center of the corner, the light flashes purple. His aura spreads out and solidifies. I do not have a better term for it. The closer to him and the more different the world tastes. I jump out of the area of effect as soon as I can and watch, mesmerized, as the bodies by his feet wither. Inside of the circle, both fish folks and primal writhe in horrific pain. Branches and brambles pierce their skins from the inside and they dry up in moments. Flowers and trees emerge from between the bones, only to perish a few seconds later. An eruption of nature explodes around my foe, life and death in a ceaseless dance fueled by the blood of the fallen. The wounds on the Lord's body close. All my work, erased in moments. The man sneers and steps forward, and the circle moves with him. Back. I yell, back. The fishmen do not need to understand my instructions to follow them. They flee from the altar as fast as they can, dragging the wounded with them. The primals care not and they die in droves. I believe I will take your friends now, he says with a laugh. I rush forth and stop at the edge of the circle. I am unaffected, thankfully. I charge and engage again, trying to keep him off. I thrust and he does not dodge. He barely redirects the blade low. My spear digs deeply into his chest. To the hilt. Only my instincts and training allow me to block the counter blow. I scream in pain as the billhook hits my flank. Even Loth's armor cannot stop the edge of the soul weapon and the power behind it. I let inertia carry me off to minimize the damage. I still leave a trail of blood in the air. Ow. Ow. This is going to hurt. I crash into the throne. Pain. It does hurt. I roll on my feet and channel the Econescence to stand up and pull a short blade from the sheath. The enchanted weapon stops the hook an instant before it can take off my head. Otto is not giving me a chance. His smile is obvious, as the ghastly wound he just accepted closes quickly enough for me to see it. It is only a matter of time now, he adds, and kicks my intact side. I crash into his followers. I grab one of the few remaining leaders on my way down. I stand back up and discard his freshly devoured body. My own wounds close ever so slightly. Otto sees me and frowns. Two can play that game. This will not save you. You will run out of pawns before I run out of fighters, fallen one. I charge and pull the spear to me. My foe does not notice. I let him hook the short blade. I roar and push the blade down, burying it into the stone where I now stand. The hook is stopped for a moment, a fragment of a second, while Otto pulls. I grab the spear and thrust. The Lord's eyes waver. I steal a gaze down. A black, thorny root encircles his foot. This one is not on his side, and I recognize the plant as my own. I do not know how it appeared, but I am not going to complain. But how? He whispers. I snarl in triumph, and yet despite the circumstances, he still manages to lodge the spear higher, missing his heart by a hair. But Sivaya's blade still has a trick. Shield breaker. The tip flashes blue as the phase magic takes hold. Otto's face shows utter shock as the powerful enchantment slices his insides. I grunt, and pull. The blade slices through ribs as if it were butter. I touch his heart. The Lord slackens instantly, eyes wide. The last of the flowers dry up and die. I pick him up by the throat and move him closer. He is lost. He sees me. He knows. Around us, the primals fall to their knees and the fish folks lay into them with wild abandon. The air is rich with the smell of blood and death, in a background of screeches and cries. The hunt is over, the quarry is captured. I have won. I can hardly believe it. I have faced a lord in battle and won. I care not about the circumstances or his strange state. He was a lord. He called the Magna Arca. And now, he is at my mercy. This will taste so sweet. I bite down. Ecstasy. My ship crashed on a small island after I killed most of the crew. Incompetent fools. That said, this island houses a population of natives I can bring under my dominion until the situation in Saxony calms down. It has been 2 years since I arrived here. I managed to pacify a local tribe of these predatory mermen by giving a repellent to my minions, thus stopping the raids. Another ship has crashed here, beyond repair. I wonder if the strange magic around the island interferes with navigation. It has been 10 years since I have arrived here. The local simpletons built me a shrine, from which I oversee their pitiful civilization. Every day is like the last, and I feel torpor overcoming me. I will allow myself to succumb to it and wake up later, when a way out has been found. I pull back as the body disintegrates between my hands. The power of a lord courses through my veins and, within my mental palace, the associated essence grows further. My victory makes me feel incredibly powerful. I have slain a lord in single combat. No trickery, no explosives, no unfortunate swine set on fire. Just me and blades. I did not even shoot him. Truly, I have grown beyond my own expectations. I stand up and watch lazily as the last of the primals are thrown to the ground and killed. Even the younger ones perish, something that I do not condone but that I will not stop either. This vengeance is not mine, and my own rules do not apply. I use the time to consider what I learned. So, Otto of the Arenwald was indeed lost. Not feral, but withdrawn into his zone of comfort like an old, timid man. Encrusted. Frozen in time. How can one let themselves go so? They must have had nothing left to look forward to. I know from my sire's influence that slumber only lasts a decade at most, and only for ancient beings like himself for whom such an interval means very little. Otto's felt longer. Deeper. Meaningless. Nirari had settled to plan his return, while he had simply given up on any action. I will avoid this terrible fate. I am not too worried. My failings are many, but inaction and melancholy have never been one of them. Siren comes to stand next to me as the orgy of blood finishes and the victorious hunters gorge themselves on the flesh of the vanquished. Sheridan joins us with a clear air of distaste. A tall and powerful fishman warrior turns to confront him. I stop myself from hissing. The proud ranger turns to the massive creature. The barrel of his gun taps against the monster's chest. "Try me," he states without an ounce of fear. The fishman tastes the air with his tongue. He slithers back with respect but not without fear. "You always show me the weirdest shit," he tells me when we are reunited. Language. "Oh, fuck off." A liver slides at our feet. Siren picks it up and gobbles it in one gulp. "You may have a point there," I concede. "We should move out. I am curious to see what our little godling is up to." Breathing, I hope. "What about Kempinick? He's a dead man walking if I have any say in this." He was a dead man walking the moment he decided to double-cross us in the consortium. He is your prey. What are the chances that he convinces Ozen that we are all dead, and that he should leave? Less than zero. Sheridan raises a dubious eyebrow. "Oh, you have little faith. Who cast the spell to bring us here safely?" "Ooh, we need you to leave as well." "Yes," I drily reply. "I am glad to see that my presence is appreciated. Enough talk. The main storyline awaits." "Excellent, let's go." "One last thing, Sheridan." "Yes?" "Give me back my rifle." "Thank you. I will have to build him one soon." Siren declines to accompany us. She has much to do to save her tribe, but she gives me a compliment of 7 muscular old fishmen who understand okay well enough to take orders. They guide us to yet another maze of corridors until we go sharply up. "I recognize this place," Sheridan informs me. "We came through here the first time." We pass by a tomb, where I am told that the dragon claw had been. The powerful sword is now in the hands of the villainous Frenchman. I will have to make sure that it is properly retrieved. We reach a promontory overlooking the forest. I raise my gauntlet and start a simple tracking spell, searching for the enchantment on my revolver which Sheridan so generously lent to the poor ingenue. We follow this spell for only 10 minutes when we hear a discharge. I press onward, and arrive in a clearing. Miranda is on the ground, her dress stained with mud and her lush hair in disarray. She holds the borrowed revolver in 2 hands and stares, glassy-eyed, at the body at her feet. I recognize one of the disposable. One of the helpers we hired for the expedition. Not only is the rogue villain dishonest, but his dishonesty is also contagious. Scandalous. And at her back, the second helper approaches with fury in his eyes, knife held high. This is it not? The reason why the Bingles always end up gravitating around me for some of their more defining stories. Cecil's last adventure in his marriage. His son's loss of innocence. Miranda's confrontation with the world as it is. Fate, or laughing gods, keep sending them my way and I keep saving them because, each time, I am given a choice. Right now, I get to decide whether she lives or dies. Will her story continue, or will it end here, in the embrace of that cursed island? I keep getting hassled because my answer has always been to save them. I find the Bingles annoying and their endless shenanigans grate my patience, and yet, at the end of the day, stories are what define us as a species, the ability to lie. Nations are lies. Honor is a lie. They are intellectual constructs with no root in the real world. And yet those lies have propelled ships across the ocean deep and sent hundreds of thousands to their death. The lies we tell each other and believe in are just as important as the fabric we wear or the food the mortals eat, perhaps more so. The godlings of adventure are that principle pushed to its limit. Stories that touch the world directly, instead of through our hands. And I have always loved a good story. I pull the trigger and the helper collapses, hands on his bleeding leg. Miranda shudders with fright, and yelps when she spots me. "Miss Delaney? Mr. Sheridan. Oh, it is so good to see you." I thought you dead. But ha! And what are those creatures around you? Do not concern yourself with them, I tell the novice adventurer as my cadre drags the screaming helper back for the larder. They will not hurt you. They obey me. Her eyes fill with tears as the events of the day quickly catch up to her exhausted psyche. But why? Because they are smart, and you are not, little Bingle. But those are monsters. Her eyes trail on my blood-soaked armor. I grab her chin in a light hand. Oh, my dear. If you had paid attention, you would have found that there were monsters here. I show her my fangs. From the very beginning. I smirk when she screams, and wait as she stares with disbelief. To her credit, she does not faint. Her pretty visage simply turns hollow. All my life I always thought. But those were real. I feel so stupid now, I do not know what to think anymore. Is science missing the point? That annoys me. Science is a method, little one, not a religion. Who says you cannot take a rigorous and logical approach to monsters? She blinks. You were right, of course. Completely right. Sheridan helps her up. She thanks him profusely for the firearm and tries to return it. My vassal turns to me with a question in his eyes. I grab the hilt of the gun and close Miranda's delicate hand on its cold, smooth surface. Keep it, my dear. I have a feeling that you will have a need for it in the future. Deck of the Corbeau, past midnight. I lean against the railing and admire the show. It is a horrible tragedy, Captain, but there was truly nothing I could have done. They fell prey to terrible, bloodthirsty monsters. I had to flee for my own sake to bring you the tale of their demise, Campignac claims as he climbs the gangplank. He has conveniently scruffy hair and a very tiny cut on his face, which lends credence to his tale. His gaze sweeps the deck and narrows with worry before the sailor's judgmental expressions. He stops in his tracks when he spots us. Miranda crosses her arm in what must be a terrible display of raging emotions for her. Sheridan whistles as he checks the noose he prepared, and tied to the mast. He then steps down from the barrel and lowers his glare at the paling trader. Ozan tilts his head in consideration. You see, Monsieur Campignac, those two have a much different story to tell, and the evidence overwhelmingly favors their version, he finishes calmly. I demand to be judged before a tribunal, according to international laws, the treacherous lout demands with a trembling voice. I wish I could accede to your demands, monsieur. Alas, it is a horrible tragedy, sir, but there is truly nothing I can do. You fell prey to a terrible, bloodthirsty monster. I shall have to decline for my own sake, to bring others the tale of your demise. Good day, sir. Sheridan steps forward and socks the man in the jaw, then drags the victim behind himself like a bear bringing an elk home. I let my vassal handle his prey as he sees fit. This vengeance is his. After Campignac is hanged, I am approached by Ozan as I enjoy the lights now adorning several cavern entrances, far into the distance. It appears that there was indeed a traitor, the daring captain comments in a deceptively light tone. As we both expected, I remark ruefully. And the traitor happened to be the Frenchman, Captain Ozan continues. So it would seem, I admit between gritted teeth. Silence descends upon the ship. I sigh deeply, and withdraw a small wallet from my backpack. I grab a 10-pound note which I hand to the smiling mortal. A pleasure doing business with you, milady. Until we bet again. You do not have to be so smug about it. On the contrary, milady, I believe I do. For mankind. I bid you good night. The Watcher preserve me from sassy mortals. Chapter 116 Kingdom of Hungary, a week later. The Corbeau moors in the port of Fiume long enough for Sheridan and myself to disembark. The ranger is more than pleased to find solid ground under his feet after a turbulent trip through the Adriatic, and we take a few hours to enjoy the shore. I recognize Italian architecture and the tall buildings lining the seafront, and the Habsburg Empire also makes its presence known. It takes half an hour for us to be reminded of our status as guests in these parts. We are barely in view of the cathedral, a squat, circular building, when a tall man in a black uniform accosts us. He has a rotund face that would appear benevolent except for a pair of cold blue eyes. Our oars touch with polite reserve. He is a strong master. "Do I have the pleasure of speaking with Ariane of the Nirari?" he inquires with a respectful tone. "Yes. My name is Laszlo of the Dvor. It is my privilege to make your acquaintance. Please, follow me to the train. My men are already taking care of your luggage," he says, and turns around. We follow. Fiume is part of the Kingdom of Hungary, and Hungary lies deep within NRU territory. Both NRU and Masks currently undergo a period of détente as both carefully monitor the revolutions racking Europe, so transport should not prove too much of an issue for an independent agent like myself. I still need to behave and keep my identification papers with me at all times. We walk through the semi-deserted street, only encountering a pair of drunk men wearing a sheepskin and a bell, for some reason. The train station is a single building with a joined roof to protect travelers from the elements. Its quaint nature is made all the more obvious by the imposing convoy currently parked before it. A massive locomotive lies there, black and shiny like a beetle. Wagons trail behind it in a long procession of grim sheet metal. The windows tower above us. They only reveal embroidered curtains and, here and there, a piece of mahogany ceiling basked in amber light. The first carriage is used by the staff. Carriages 2 and 3 are reserved for our companions and persons of import. I will kindly request that you leave them untouched. A restaurant occupies the third carriage, where our guests may enjoy the services of a chef at any time. You will also find willing company there that you may bring to your cabin if you so wish. He means food, although some prefer to feed during lovemaking. We request that you exercise restraint. Male vampires occupy the fourth carriage and the gentler sex, the last. You will find your cabin and a salon there for your enjoyment. We ask that you respect the privacy of the other guests, and the male fumoir is invitation only. How about the female salon? I ask. Some of these remarks could be considered as insulting, as stating the basic rules of politeness sometimes is. I want to know where he stands. It is invitation only as well, of course, the man continues with a smart bow. The gesture might be anodyne to a mortal. To us, it shows respect beyond any doubt. A hostile trained butler would not show deference. I decide to give trust that he is honest, and nod in acknowledgement. You have full access to the train and so does your vassal, within the boundaries of the aforementioned rules. The Lady Victoria of the Dvor and her courtier, gents, are already aboard. We are still waiting for Master Caroly of the Dvor. I understand. Before we depart, Laszlo continues in English, now slightly bashful, I must regretfully ask you to leave your weapons in our custody for the duration of the trip. Except sole weapons, if applicable, of course. Rest assured that this rule extends to every guest and is there for your own safety. Your protection is guaranteed by Clan Dvor while you travel with us. I apologize for the disruption. I take a good look at our guest and he does something rare. He opens his aura by releasing his control over it. I feel embarrassment. If he is faking, his control matches that of Sinead and I somehow doubt it. Fair enough, I reply, and turn to Sheridan. The tall Texan is clearly uncomfortable, but he eventually shrugs when he realizes that I remain unconcerned. When in Rome, he comments stoically. We climb on the first carriage with the parts of our luggage that contain our gear. The interior is cramped and Spartan, with many small cabins stuck to each other. Laszlo leads us to a locker secured behind a steel door. The entire train is enchanted, I notice, and the armory more than most. I detect nothing intrusive, just reinforcements and alarms. If you please, Laszlo offers with a smile, pointing at a nearby table. Sheridan and I exchange a glance. He removes his belt and his personal Colt, still in its holster. I place the knife I always keep on me on the table. Sheridan grabs and deposits his second revolver. I rummage in my bag and place my belt of throwing knives, my short sword, and a secondary dagger. Sheridan drops a massive cutlass that can only be called a knife if a spear can be called a toothpick. I drop 2 boxes of enchanted ammunition and both halves of my spear. Sheridan reaches in his boot to find one last blade. I place a bandolier of bullets in the needle rifle's sheath on top of that. Then, 2 powder charges. I finish with my gauntlet. We wait. Laszlo seems a bit at a loss before the arsenal. Is that all? He asks in heavily accented English. Yep. Yes. Are you quite all right, sir? I ask. Of course. I just did not expect. We had a busy trip, I suggest helpfully. Pirates. The ranger intones. Amongst other things, I finish. The poor Dvormaster finally recovers his phlegm. You can rest assured that your belongings will be returned safely at your destination. Oh, and please do not start any wars before the train has had the time to depart for its next destination. Don't worry, pal, we've never done anything bigger than a city-wide revolt. I am immensely relieved to hear that, the train conductor deadpans. With our host thus appeased, we decide to split up for the night. I pass by the restaurant to find a snack. I manage to invite a dark-haired woman to join me in hesitant German. It turns out that, while they do not expect sex, all donors are ready for this eventuality. I send her on her way without taking advantage of her enthusiastic offer. Now set up, I decide to visit the salon. Time to greet the locals. I flash my arrow to announce my presence and enter a narrow but long boudoir cluttered with couches, seats, and pillows. Warm yellow lights bathe the red upholstery. The place is gaudy, too much for my taste, and yet there is no denying that it feels welcoming. 2 vampires await politely as I step in. I can never get tired of how poised we appear, and how predatory we really are. The 2 ladies sit daintily at the edge of puffy little seats around a tiny coffee table containing 2 books and a small bell. Their postures are straight and elegant and their smiles flawless, but their immobility reflects their true nature. I see it in the depths of their mirthless eyes. This is their territory I am intruding on, and we must reach an understanding first and foremost. I am almost certain that I can kill them if it comes to this, but it will not. I am their guest here, for they are Dvor and we are on Dvor territory. I can be polite when I want. And so, I smile pleasantly, and curtsy low enough to convey sincere respect. My name is Ariane of the Nirari, Maladies. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Am I speaking to Lady Victoria and gents of the Dvor? Oh, no need to be so formal, Dari, the older one lies. Come, join us. Victoria is a dark-haired beauty. She has the appearance of a very young, voluptuous maid with an honest sort of charm. Meanwhile, Jens appears slightly older, around 20, and has an ethereal, delicate presence. Her skin is extremely pale, and she averts her blue eyes delicately when I turn to inspect her. I take a seat. If the customs here are the same, Victoria will decide the direction of the conversation. I seem to remember that the old monster had sired a saint child, for once, somewhere on the new continent. Are you her? I am. I had the fortune of finding good friends who helped me throughout the more difficult years. And modest. It must have taken more than luck to find one good friend in your position. Is this your first time in Europe? It is. I am excited to visit a bit before politics inevitably drags me back to my territory. Oh, you already have a city? Jens here covets her own, though it will take time before she can take ownership of one. The poor Dari dreams of taking over Vienna. The blonde courtier sputters and lowers her head in embarrassment. Mistress. Must you tell someone we only just met? My prerogatives include the teasing of young and ambitious spawns, my dear. Ariane darling, tell the poor girl what you had to do to get your territory. Nothing too bad. A bit of politics, a few assassinations, and a massive werewolf hunt. Ha! Such a good method. I approve. Do you know that Budapest's Dominion was decided over poetry? Poetry. I swear, vampires these days forget how to grasp prizes with their own bloody claws. Now, they only know how to recite Byron, count money, sway their hips, and lie. I blame our training program. You know what my training was. I stabbed a wolf with a pitchfork. That caught my sire's eye. Have you ever stabbed a wolf with a pitchfork, Ariane? No, I was more a musket kind of girl. Oh, that is perfectly acceptable. Just as violent, and you get no blood on your dress. Jens dear, remind me to bring you bear hunting sometime. I am not sure that Ladislaw would approve, Milady. Fa. If that old baggage dares complain, I shall strap him to my saddle so that he can kiss my... And how was your trip over here? Jens interrupts in a shrill voice. Boring. I dread the return trip. The only high point was a little incident involving pirates. For a trip this long, you need a library and 3 strapping young lads. For variety, Victoria advises. I will certainly prepare the return trip better. The library does sound tempting. If I may ask, Jens interrupts with a respectful voice, what brings you to Europe? Would you like to visit Austria and Hungary? As a matter of fact, I was planning on visiting Tauron of the Dvor. He invited me. I try to remain calm when I see the ladies' inquisitive eyes, but they, of course, narrow with interest. Did he now? Oh, I heard that his prowess in bed are legendary. Damn it. I would have blushed if it were possible. Ha! I knew it. That codger finally found a sheath to his blade. Oh, when that withered hag Nina hears about this, she will be livid. Or even more livid, in any case. She had designs on the tasty morsel. Ahem, I interrupt, a bit put off. Oh, do not mind my foul mouth, Ariane dear, he is certainly a prize of a man. You cannot blame me for feeling a little bit of envy. Lord Tauron remains one of the Dvor's most yearned-after bachelors. It would be amazing if he finally got involved with someone, even if that person is a foreign lady with her own territory, Jens observes, her gaze heavy with calculations. Yes, we are glad for you, girl, if he took an interest in you. I was starting to think he had gone cold. Oh, it appears that we have a visitor. I tense, but then I feel it at the edge of my perception. Someone is coming, a master judging by the aura. Victoria smiles knowingly when my eyes drift to the side. Now, she knows how far I can detect things, although she cannot do much with this information. It annoys me that she reads me so easily. Fortunately, she does not appear hostile. The man who knocks politely and enters is quite easy on the eye. He has sandy hair and very light blue eyes that give him an angelic aura. The power of a master emanates from him in controlled waves. Jens's own quivers with excitement, and we all politely pretend not to have noticed. Carolee. So kind of you to join us, she babbles. Jens, flower of my soul, you are as beautiful as always. Sleek bastard. You are too kind, sir. Carolee, you sly dog, stop standing there like a lamppost and sit down before you give me a stiff neck. Of course, Milady. I merely needed your approval. Will that be acceptable with your new companion? The smarmy man says, turning to me with curiosity. Jens's aura betrays her annoyance. I hold back a smirk. Since Lady Victoria trusts you, you have my blessing, I cordially allow. Keep in mind that you defend the honor of European males, Carolee. Behave, the lady tells him with a hint of edge. We spend a pleasant time listening to Carolee's recounting of his experience in the Ottoman Empire. He is a fine storyteller who wields light sarcasm as well as descriptive prose. Even I, who consider him with distrust, have to admit that he possesses a sharp mind and an unusual outlook, one that he must have developed over years of travel. He apparently struggles to find a place to settle and call his own, a peculiarity for Dvor. Most are sired already attached to a land. I wonder what happened. After a while, Victoria grabs me by my hand and kindly requests that I walk her to the restaurant, which I do. Jens's aura bubbles behind us. Are you not afraid that he would have his way with her? I ask as soon as we are out of hearing. We walk up through the now moving train. It rides pleasantly and smoothly with a soothing kaka-kaka sound as regular as a clock. Outside, the mountainous countryside beckons, with its ancient farmhouses hidden in craggy valleys. Oh, I fully expect them to be naked and pinkish within 10 minutes. I do not begrudge Jens her fun, and Carolee has everything she was taught to love in men. Power, wit, money, beauty. And he is good at love-making, if the tales are to be believed. Better to let her get it out of her system. I cannot work with a frustrated youngling. Too much hissing. Even we can be heartbroken. The old matriarch dismisses my concern with a wave of her hand. You are correct, my dear, but it matters not. How did it go again? 'Tis better to have loved and lost than to have not loved at all. She will spend time with the man of her dreams, get properly bonked, then realize that it is not enough to make a relationship. Not without children and not with how long we live. How often did you talk about money and moving into Tauron's castle when you were together? Never. Good. Keep it that way. We sit in the restaurant wagon even if Victoria is not thirsty to begin with. I use the opportunity to order coffee to the ladies' surprise. The human staff does not react, leading me to deduce that they played host to Hastings' vampires before. I feel the need to warn you, my dear, I fear that Nina of the Dvor may have plans to visit your lover's haunt. He cannot refuse her passage on his land since she is a lady, but he will refuse her access to his castle. Do not let yourself be intimidated. Any advice? I ask, since she knows the foe. Are you after the favor of the Dvor and a long-term relationship with our ruling council? Most of us American rulers agree that we will be at war with the European factions at some point in the near future. It would be a waste of time to establish a good relationship now. Absolutely not. Then you will define. Remember, Nina is no fighter. In the end, she can only do to you what you allow her to do. Stay polite enough during your inevitable conversation, then say no and leave. Understood. Worst case scenario, I have not yet tasted Dvor essence. Her smile turns predatory. Just be sure to do it as part of a sanctioned duel, Dari, otherwise I would have to hunt you myself. Only as a last resort. I have come for a good time. Duels to the death are a good time. Ah, here comes Laszlo. Ariane dear, do you mind if I invite him over? Poor lad spends his days taking care of that big thing. Let us remind him that he is part of our community, yes? I would be delighted. The dour train conductor turns out to be a fine conversationalist, with a dry humor and pleasant deadpan deliveries. Why does Nina think she and Tauron will make such a good pair? I find myself asking. Because, Melody, we call Tauron the old wolf, and Nina the old bat. She must be going for a theme. And so on. At some point, Victoria asks me what my first years as a fledgling were like. Seeing that most of it is public knowledge anyway, I share my experience with them, omitting anything that concerns the Lycian or Loth's more sensitive topics. Victoria immediately picks up on my grief when I mention Dalton. The loss of a vassal marks us forever. I applaud you for not falling to the usual trap of control. Many become overprotective of their next vassal, forgetting why they exist. It would defeat the purpose, I grumble, having battled those tendencies. Indeed. You and I know how difficult and painful it can be to fight your instincts to their bitter end. The Dvor lady and I exchange a glance. She allows me to touch a peculiar element of her aura and I recognize something there, a sort of looseness. As if some chain had been broken. She almost turned feral too. We are marked, for better and for worse. I smile and nod at her, appreciative of her sharing the experience, then realize that Laszlo is still here. He politely inspects my cup of coffee, thus giving us a moment of privacy that I appreciate. I decide to share some of my hunts with Loth and Dalton to lift the mood. The tale of our attack on the Ascendancy compound and the Flaming Pigs disaster that ensued leads them to share their own calamitous outings. Laszlo accidentally rammed the train into a poultry car. The staff could still find the odd feather 3 weeks after. Victoria had to distract a local master as part of an investigation. She ended up as the referee and announcer in a naked battle where contestants had to wrestle in a mud pool. I end up smiling at those tales of shame and depravity. We retire shortly before dawn. I realize that I had spent a pleasant moment, and offer both Laszlo and Victoria to contact me if they visit America. I know that we will end up on opposite sides of a war before this happens. It matters little. We have centuries. Hopefully. I make contact with Sheridan after. The man blushes when he sees me and I realize that he also made use of the offered company. Said company made him take a bath, for which I am grateful. Not staying pure until marriage, I take it. It would have been rude to refuse. But of course. We left Zagreb behind the night before. It takes little time before the train stops at a sleepy village on the border with Austria, our destination. We step down to a breathtaking mountainous vista of tall pines, snow-capped distant peaks and vampires. Good evening, Milady, are you Ariane of the Nirari? The streets are deserted. Houses here are large, with walls painted white and roofs of brown wood still close to the ground. They are squat and must get snowed in during winter, but staying close to the ground means that they will be easier to keep warm. I can spot light through windows, but no one is about. Dogs bark a street away. The vampires are 2 women, vermasters of middling talent. They wear rich dresses and costly jewelry, looking out of place in that remote area. No coats, and no luggage. That is correct, I reply. Lady Nina of the Dvor requests the privilege of your presence while we wait for your host, one of them says, making it clear that this is not, in fact, a request. That was fast. The pair looks condescending. Smirks adorn their carmine lips. They look like 2 smug teachers who caught the class clown red-handed. I hate them already, but it would be rude to refuse and I cannot insult another one of Tauron's guests. Of course. You may lead the way, I answer, and turn to Sheridan who bravely shoulders his luggage. I realize that I will have to carry my own or leave it here. This will not look good. And then, a group of men emerges from the still waiting train. They grab my belongings and make to follow, faces grim. I catch Laszlo through a window. He winks. I smile in return. I turn again to find the 2 hags slightly put off. No doubt that this was intentional on their part. I find their level of pettiness truly staggering. Well? I ask, feigning impatience. They grit their teeth and walk away. We move in silence. I am studiously ignored and use the opportunity to inspect my surroundings. We head towards the only tall building in this hamlet besides the church. The absence of people can only mean one thing. They know. Otherwise, no self-respecting gossip would ignore 2 women in lavish clothes escorting one in sensible travel gear through their land. The Dvor form the core of the Enaru faction, I remember. I just did not expect them to extend their reach so far out. The village cannot be home to a permanent vampire due to its small population. Their influence reaches even here. I know that our presence will be revealed to mankind sooner rather than later. I wonder if we could first become an open secret, a presence known to a significant portion of the population, and then make our presence official? It seems to work here. We enter our destination, which turns out to be an inn. No staff comes to greet us, though a fire burns in the hearth and lanterns and candles provide ample light. I direct the trio to deposit my belongings near the entrance and thank them for their assistance. They lift their hats and depart without hurry. Sheridan makes his way to the bar and helps himself to a beer, his scowl a clear indication of what he thinks of our games. I climbed the stairs up to the second floor, one companion before and one behind, as if they were leading me to the gallows. They even display the proper, solemn countenance. The second floor is right below the rafters. Some doors led to rooms, no doubt. It left most of the space free for a large table next to which 3 more vampires now sit. 2 of them turn out to be masters, bringing the total to 4, a show of force for the lady enthroned in their midst. My guides step up quickly to take prepared seats. I am left with the remaining spot, the one with its back to the door. The one opposite the 5 others. One more petty insult. "Sit," the lady starts. She is beautiful in a very distant sort of way. She was turned in her 30s, I think. Her heart-shaped face is full, and her lips pink and plump. She has this unmistakable charm of the femme fatale, the consummate demoiselle of the court, whose velvety eyes hide 1,000 secrets. Her aura tastes of scheme and hidden sin. The lady brushes an errant strand of raven hair with a dainty finger. She opens her mouth to speak as I sit. "Thank you for having me," I interrupt. "Oh, you prepared tea. How thoughtful of you." Nina's eyes rest on the table, which was made with cutlery and plates. I grab a cup and fill it with lukewarm liquid from a nearby pot. The tea is horrible, but only I can drink it. I then slowly remove my cloak and hang it on my chair. "Are you quite done?" my improvised host snaps. "Whatever do you mean?" I ask without a smile. This was one of Sinead's lessons in dealing with sly remarks and innuendos. The most basic answer is to request explanations. Experienced pricks will find workarounds, especially if they are in a position of authority, but it will break their rhythm and ruin their game. I use that method now. "I have summoned you here for a grave matter, Ariane of the Nirari." She summoned nothing, but it would be rude to interrupt and correct her, and she would ask me to stay silent. It would lead to an immediate argument, and I would rather hear what she has to say. I sip on the tea with an eyebrow raised. "You must be at no loss to understand the reason for this meeting. Decency, respect, nay, common sense, must tell you why." "Indeed not. I was not expecting to meet you at all," I remark, and take another sip while I recline in my chair. "Very well, if you must choose to be obtuse, then I will only act with the integrity that qualifies for women. A most alarming report reached my ears a few weeks ago, one that I simply cannot quite believe, for it shows such a reckless nature that can only lead to disaster and premature doom in any civilized country of the world. For the sake of Lord Tauran and that of all our honors, I had to come here in person despite pressing business and make sure that such dreadful rumors were baseless, and indeed, unimaginable. By the watcher, does that harlot like the sound of her own voice?" "What would that be?" I asked in a bored voice. "A scandalous idea that our most esteemed Lord Tauran, member of the council and one of the few soul-smiths in existence, would invite a foreign woman on his land, one from the frontier and without a situation here no less, to engage in amorous relationships. Although, it must be a terrible invention rife with falsehoods, for no gentleman of his stature will stoop so low as to engage in such careless behavior." Silence and pointed looks. I wait. I sip more tea. Our auras are calm so far, a tribute to our collective control. "It appears to be a question aimed at Tauran himself," I remark. "Do not play coy with me, miss. I aim to know whether or not you have designs on our most esteemed host." "Sure I do." My immediate answer ruffles their feathers. They did not expect a candid answer, maybe. "I mean, have you seen Tauran? Great man, great lover, great warrior. And that ass? Ariane of the Nirari. You dare?" "Yes, I dare," I calmly reply. We do not move now. Our assembly might well be statues. Nina stood in her anger, though I suspect most of it is acting, and stares down at me. "Let me explain the trouble you find yourself in. Lord Tauran is one of the youngest and most promising members of our council, a rising star in the highest political spheres of our most ancient and noble clan." "Bullshit. Tauran hates politics. His position is a peculiar one. As a soulsmith and a warlord, he forms one of the cornerstones of our might. His position and wealth are well ascertained, and we already have enchanting prospects that will bring him the balance and direction he needs, though he may not know it yet. Lord Tauran deserves only the best for himself and his growth and tranquility. We agree on that last part. I interrupt once more. Then, she continues in a low growl, you would do well to consider your own interest in the matter. One like you who lacks support and reputation cannot thrive in this environment, and a match would only be damaging for your own reputation. You would never obtain the power you crave. Heh? Somehow, it. Hold on. I close my eyes and push the irritating voice into the background. I end up in the core of my mental palace and rush outside. Rooms and mazes blur as I reach the border of my domain. There, at the wall of thorns, lilac-colored limbs of smoke snake their way through my defenses. Subtle. But not subtle enough. I change the nature of the border. Imagine the thorns turning thirsty. From passive and hard, they turn fluid. Sting. The smoke breaks. Some of it retreats. I open my eyes to see the master on the left flange. One with short blonde hair and a soft face. She withdraws her hand from the table. You nasty little twit, I growl. You forget yourself. Lady Nina screams once more, but this time, I am done. We were done the moment they stepped over the line. And you forget who I am, cur. 5 oars jump on mine to suppress it, and it works. I feel my presence crushed and a weight settle on my shoulder. I still manage to stand up to my full height with effort. Another attack. Rage pulses softly in my chest. It burns brighter with each moment. You still sit here as if this one had not attacked me. You are delusional, the blonde woman spits. You think your clan is ancient, but mine was the first and we remember the old laws. We respect the law of hospitality, which you just broke, mongrel. You will regret those words, the blonde retorts, eyes narrowed. I accept your challenge, I calmly reply. That stops them. You want to make me regret my words, yes? I choose the spear. You can take whatever weapon you fancy, I care not. We are not in your frontier where conflict solves everything, the blonde says again. I cannot taste her fear with my aura suppressed, but I know it is there and I smile, fangs out. Have the Dvar lost their courage? That gets me a few hisses. Nina is next to speak. You may retract your challenge now, or I will be her champion, she remarks with just a hint of smugness. I accept the substitution. More stunned silence. Clearly, they did not expect that, and I wonder why? Have the Devorers lost their reputation? You overestimate yourself, Ariane of the Nirari. You are not your sire. The gap between us is not one you can bridge. You would not be the first lord I kill, I inform her, and my smile widens. The conversation took a strange turn for the worst, but it appears that we ended up exactly where I wanted. You do not understand me at all. I care not about your court, your council, and reputation. Your threats are laughable, and your little trial, pathetic. You simply miss the point. I am here to find my lover on his own turf and spend a very pleasant time in his company. You would have realized it if you had taken the time to judge me, but you naturally assumed I was the same ambitious devious bitch that you are yourself. And now, we will meet on the field and I will drain you dry. I choose the spear and gauntlet. You can take your sole weapon, if you even have one. It will make no difference. I drain the glass of tea and place it back on the table. Safar spoiled me. This tea is a tragedy. Do not take too long. I sashay out before she gets the chance to remember that she can set the date of the duel. I barely have to come downstairs when something happens that makes me smile. The ground rumbles. I move out and stare in the street. Tauran gallops into the city atop his massive nightmare, Crawware, with his aura deployed and thunder on his brow. He looks regal in a tailored rider outfit and dark leather and a strange high hat. His long gray hair is held in a tight braid. I smile like an idiot when I see him and, since I am alone, I jump and wave in excitement. The tenderness in his gaze leaves me breathless, but soon his attention returns to the door as Lady Nina and her entourage make their way out. His gray eyes gain the intensity of a hawk, and his demeanor turns positively glacial. "Ariane, my star, I apologize for the poor welcome you received," he begins in a low voice. I can feel the barely contained rage behind it. His aura fuses with its surroundings in a very peculiar way, and I realize what it means. He is on his own land. He feels stronger here, more solid, and since he was already strong and solid, the result is simply awe-inspiring. I want to spar him a bit. Later. "Lord Tauran," Nina starts with a reasonable tone, so that Tauran appears angry while she is calm and composed. "We merely. You were leaving when I arrived. Did you sense me, or did they pull something?" he asks, ignoring the interruption. I have no reason to defend them. The blonde one tried mind magic. I was about to grab my spear and demand satisfaction. "A groundless fabrication, Lord Tauran. This savage lies liberally. You should." Silence. Tauran's aura washes over us, smashing over any defenses like a midnight tide. The barking dogs in the neighboring houses whimper and become silent. The wind dies down. Even the fluttering candles diminish. The impact extends to every aspect of reality, including the ground beneath my feet. Do not tell me what I should or should not do in my domain, woman. I have tolerated your antics for too long. Leave. As a lady of the council, you may not deny me access, she retorts, a proud chin lifted in defiance. You may extend your complaints to the council, Nina, after your prompt departure. The stress on the prompt is unmistakable, as is the underlying threat. Tauran has reached his limit. Nina huffs, and turns around with the dignity she can muster. But, I have not had my due yet. Not so fast. A challenge started must be finished. Ariane. Tauran asks as the women stop in their tracks. I would consider it a personal favor if you could let the matter drop. Please. For me. AAARRRGGG if he asks like that. Oh, very well. He had better compensate me. I sulk a bit, but soon I forget all about it and jump on Tauran when the hags are gone. I reveal my aura to him, to let him see how happy I am. I am probably as joyful as a vampire can be. His laugh is deep and full of mirth. Ha ha ha, come on, leave your luggage here and ride with me. I did not bring Metas, I tell him. The long crossing would have killed the poor creature. He appears surprised. You do not know. Have you not guessed that they do not travel as we do? Whatever do you mean? Have you not noticed how our nightmares always seem to be around? They travel through the forests of this world and others. Come. Try to call her. Surely, you jest. He does not appear to be jesting. Oh well. Metas. I hear a nearby gallop. No way. The proud pony herself rounds a corner at full speed, then prances around. She bumps my chest with her head, causing me to laugh. Yes, Metas, I am so happy to see you too. Come on, my star, let us ride. We do so. Crawware, his nightmare, moves with absolute surety. Tauran's aura seems to smooth the passage wherever we go, through narrow mountain trails and deep pine forests. We ride for an hour until we stop by a crystalline spring in a lonely valley. One of my favorite places, even before I became a vampire. Do you know what I find amazing with Ariane? I cross my arms, quite proud of myself. Would you like the list thematically or alphabetically? Ha! No, I am serious. What was your plan for tonight? Well, I thought that, perhaps, we could visit your bedroom first, then a spa? Oh, I would blush if I still could. Tauran only smiles. Exactly, this is all about us as people. We will do as you propose later. Sparring will help with your recovery. You are quite confident. I mock reproach. No, not with our lovemaking. With your forging. I have your measure and I have prepared well. Everything is ready. We will make your soul weapon tonight. Chapter 117. Tauran and I finally arrive in a sprawling valley nestled comfortably between three mountains. Tilled fields extend all around a town of good size, its cozy wooden roofs extending far in the distance. I spot a church, but also two warehouses and factory buildings, and a pen that might contain either horses or cows. The tamed land extends to the edge of the mountains and the forests that cover its flanks. Ehrenstadt. My home, Tauran says with a smile. I grew up here and was turned in my castle. Your castle? Tauran points up to the nearest mountain. There, a white form with high towers and vertiginous spires covered in slates clings to the cliff. We travel on. He is impatient, it seems, and sometimes glances back with obvious excitement. He is almost giddy. Are you quite all right? I ask as we ride side by side. I have never seen him like this before. Forgive me, my star, when I get in the mood to create a soul weapon, very little can distract me. I knew that you would grow in power since we last met and I am not disappointed. You are more than ready. I will not manage to rest until I have given life to my next masterpiece. It is unlike you to be so hasty, I notice with a hint of worry. Do not be alarmed, Ariane dear. I am an old hand at this task. I have to see it. Fair enough, I reply. I find it surprising that he would be almost more excited than I am. Oh, I expected that it might happen, but I am here for him, not for a blade. You will not be able to calm down before we proceed? I ask him. Indeed not. And the sooner we do it, the better. You will be weakened for a while after we do so. I would prefer if you stayed here, under my protection. You expect trouble? With Nina, perhaps? Not particularly. She had to challenge you, and the mind magic was certainly reckless and heavy-handed, but she is a schemer before anything else. That is also why I had to convince you to drop the matter of the duel. I could have taken her on. Of this I have no doubt, Tauran replies with a radiant smile, but soon it turns bitter. Unfortunately, it would bring no end of trouble. If she can choose the date, she will push it to a later time and use her clout to have you expelled from Dvor territory, thus making you forfeit by default. If she can choose the weapon, she will pick the bow or something equally ridiculous. You have won this bout, better to stop now while we are ahead. There is still a debt. I grumble. I only accept it out of respect for him. I will compensate you. How? With my essence. I am left speechless. I had always kept the request to myself, although I was tempted to ask him. Verlord essence freely given is a high prize indeed. And he is right. I have better things to do than to engage a manipulative lady on her own turf. The compensation is adequate. We follow a well-traveled path through fields of high wheat. The road goes up, following the incline, and soon enough it snakes its way around rocky outcrops and forest thickets. Tauran's aura is vibrant and powerful here. It makes one with the land. We arrive at the entrance, and the sight forces yet another smile out of me. A marble bridge spans over a deep chasm, leading to an island of beauty surrounded by sheer cliffs on all sides. Tauran's castle is old, but well maintained with mossy outer walls and crenellations, but clean gravel and polished stone in the inner courtyard and the keep. The spires I spotted before extend upward, sharp and blue, like knives aimed at the sky. It is breathtakingly beautiful. Have I been transported into a fairy tale? I turn to Tauran, who wears a smug expression of triumph, and remember to close my mouth. I am so jealous. He laughs, a warm, mellow sound that rolls and sends shivers up my spine. Come on, let me show you where I work. We cross the bridge at a good pace. Torches and sconces line the walls of the courtyard we find ourselves in. Space here is cramped in a good way. The castle feels more personal and intimate than grandiose. An old mortal in coveralls bows and caresses Crower's flank as Tauron dismounts. You may leave Metis with Hector. He has my trust. If you say so. Metis drinks water with bison grass and loves caramelized pig ears. Can you tell him that? Tauron laughs again. By the eye, I have missed you. Come. I grumble a bit at the cavalier behavior. How pushy. And yet. A soul weapon. The holy grail of vampire armament. For free. By a master. On the spot. Many would kill for such a privilege. We enter a sumptuous main hall with stairs leading up to a balcony. Doors on each side are now closed, except for one which we take. It leads down to a spiral staircase. We follow it. First, the walls and steps are made of brick, but then they appear dug into the very stone as we climb down. We pass a few doors without stopping. The air turns wet and cool the deeper we go. Eventually, we reach a landing in a vast natural cavern. I am, once again, shocked at the beauty I just discovered. The cavern ceiling is covered in stalactites of various sizes, many of them dropping crystalline droplets into the abyssal lake that covers half of the ground. Its surface is spotless, but for the ripples from the falling water, each impact resonating in the chamber. On the dry side, there are only two things, an incredibly complex and deep circle made of gold, and what appears to be half-tortured chair and half-comfortable divan. I recognize the heavy enchanted manacles from personal experience. I say, with some worry. Tauron stops then. His manic grin falls down, but it soon turns into a soft smile. I apologize, my star. So many people come here ready and eager. You must be the first one I had to drag in here. Stop, and come here. He takes me into his arms and I take a deep breath. His scent is familiar and comforting, and so is the strength holding me. You see me in a poor light. I am as excited as a fledgling. I know you are afraid, and so I will solemnly swear to you on my essence, here and now, that I only have your best interest at heart and will forge you a weapon that you will carry your whole life. But not now. When you are ready. The vow settles around us. I am ready. I trust you. It does not matter that there are manacles here. Tauron said that he is doing this for my own good, and he will. Besides, I am curious as well now that my worry has abated. Truly. We can delay for a few days. No. There is no need. You are correct, I will need time to recover as you said. The anticipation will prevent me from enjoying myself fully. Is there enough time, though? It is already midnight. More than enough time, my star. Familiarity with my partner's aura makes the process faster, and the circle was designed to help me. It will take only an hour or so. Oh, good. First you must change into that slip. Your clothes might get damaged. He turns around to inspect the circle and I find the garment he was referring to on the chair. It is a very thin tunic that reaches my knees, little more than a summer night cloth. I quickly wear it, and inform Tauron that I am ready. My lover turns around and his focused expression turns thoughtful. He walks to me with hesitation in his steps. A light fingers trails along my flank. I enjoy watching him squirm a bit. You know, you were right. We should, delay everything. For a bit. Make sure you are properly relaxed. We spend the next hour relaxing. He holds his promise and shows great determination to see me as free of stress as possible. Should have started with that, I manage to force out as I lie on the divan. Tauron chuckles warmly. No time for pillow talk. I shall start before you realize what happens. Fine, I tell him, not caring. Our love-making left me in a state of contented restfulness. I do not react as he fastens the restraints over my ankles, wrists, and still waist. We are both still naked, therefore the process is more comically lewd than intimidating. You will fight me, and not be able to help yourself. The process is uncomfortable. I remember something to that effect. I will begin now. See you on the other side, my star. I groan and he laughs once more. I watch as Tauron steps into the circle and activates it. A hum starts and grows as power flows into the construct. Golden glyphs appear and disappear in the air with great speed. It lasts for a moment, and then I feel something latching onto my essence. It is, as he mentioned, a deeply unsettling feeling. The sensation would be even worse for its intimacy, if I did not know Tauron better. I am more exposed than I have ever been. My soul is undressed. Tauron raises a hand and steps closer. He crosses the circle without breaking the connection. He places his hand on my chest, between my breasts. Our essences link, and mine turns liquid. Our ability to turn essence physical and malleable is what makes us soulsmiths. I clench my jaw and stop myself from fighting it. The treatment is not exactly painful. I would call it more itchy, in the way that a tornado can be called an air current. Deeply unsettling. What I am at the core is now movable, and yet it is still the same, still, whole, and still untouched. The sensation of wrongness threatens to overwhelm me, and only my love for Tauron and my trust in him prevent me from letting the restraints do what self-control could not. I want him to know that I believe in him. And then he pulls. I cannot help it, I scream. I buckle and jump. He is tearing my essence out of my body. My mind snaps under the alien experience. A part of me that I had never felt I was having a form is now stretched. A new sense awakes, if briefly, only to torment me. I lose my focus. Trapped. 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 Confusion. Ariane. Confusion. Ariane. Two gray eyes. A hand. Black matter floating in the air. Should not be floating. Should not be visible. Ariane, listen to my voice. Tauron. I need you to help me a bit. I want you to focus on my voice. Yes. Remember when you last fought? The weakened lord. A circle of life and death. My fate on the line. A contest of skill. Yes. I want you to remember the way you moved, the way you fought. Bring it forward. I do so now, and find it easy. My aggressive, unpredictable style. Fighting at the edge. The equilibrium of primal rage and precise control. My truth. The black stuff in Tauron's hand changes shape. It becomes longer, narrower. Spines appear along its flank. Yes, good, very good. Your essence is concentrated nicely. Every bit of it is you, and all of you. Good. Keep going. What follows are harrowing moments. I want to tell Tauron to stop everything, that I have had enough, yet I endure. I will not let the strangeness of the situation interrupt us. I also believe that Tauron can finish with or without my help, and that he will not stop the forging for anything. My vision blurs, so that I can notice no details. I just see a blade-like form, and Tauron's focused gray eyes. Until it stops and something of me is held in his hands. I can feel it like the extension of my own soul. It pulses in rhythm with the rest of me. That was not so bad, I find myself thinking as he walks back to the circle. Very uncomfortable, but compared to the torture, this might sting a bit. Sever. Pain. Pain. Pain, 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 pain. Arg. Agony without match. The most devastating, traumatic pain I have ever suffered in my entire Watcher-forsaken life. A scourge like no other. The bane of my existence. The memory of it will be seared into my mind for all of eternity. A divine pain, one that transcends the physical to reach realms of consciousness that I did not know I had until they started flaying my soul. Ah ha ha. The scream trails off and fizzles because I lack the strength to keep going. A tidal wave washes my mind away. I float in the recess of myself, above an ocean of red. I have to keep myself still or the pain will devour me. I am also present on the other side of the red wave. It is me, everything is me, but something bleeds out of that part. All that makes me a person, such as memories and thoughts, leaves it and rejoins the whole. What is left is the canvas. The stuff on which I exist. And the part that kills given form. I must have lost consciousness then. I do not know how long I stay like this. I only come to when someone grabs me in a princess carry. I open and I throw disgusting gunk, and attempt to croak something, in vain. I cannot move at all. I lack the strength. Disorientation tangles my senses. For the first time since I last lost my heart, I feel utterly defenseless. There is a change then. It takes me some time to recognize the touch of cool water on my skin. The cocooning sensation soothes the phantom pain racking my body, while a light touch clings away. I open my eyes again. This time, I can see blurry shapes, including the form of Tauran above me. We are in the pool, and he is slowly cleaning me. My blood is everywhere. I try to speak and can barely manage a low grunt. Here. This will help. Liquid fire ignites my tongue. Tonight, I discover my limits. Tauran fed me like Ian blood, and I simply cannot enjoy the experience. All my senses are saturated beyond reason. I force it down anyway. Pain. Binding. Humiliation. Let me die. I push the memories away. The impossible energy coming from their immortal blood surges into the wound in my being, giving my essence some of the energy it needs to rebuild itself. The process remains unpleasant. Calm down, Ariane. You're fine now. Almost. I breathe slowly and finally manage to relax as Tauran cleans my face with a wet cloth and a delicate touch. Are you feeling better? I nod, then start with the simplest question. That blood you gave me. A payment I recently received for a rush order. It will significantly hasten your recovery. I meant something else. He discarded such a precious treasure for me. Do you want to see your soul weapon? Yes. Ah, finally. Tauran helps me up and I stand on shaking feet, now clean. I see a black blade before me. Call it to you. I do so instinctively. The weapon disappears from the ground and reappears in my hand. It is a sword. Of sorts. The handle, pommel, and guard fit my idea of classical elegance and thin, sober lines of twisted material. Beyond that, however, lies a strange segmented blade that looks savage and, well, a little bit impractical. One side is sharp and smooth, while the other has what appears to be notches at the back of each part. Something clicks in my mind and the segments fall limply to the ground, held together by some sort of wire. Tauran. What the hell is this? Do not worry if you cannot keep it up, the old lord deadpans, it happens to everyone. This is no time for a joke. Why is my soul weapon a limp sword? A truly unique and amazing weapon, just as I expected. This is a whip sword. A thoroughly impractical weapon for any human. So much that it only exists as a concept. If you are trying to make me feel better, this is not working. Think about it, Ariane. You have learned to fight from your vampire side. You have never fought like a human. So? Obviously you need a blade that reflects your fighting style, and it comes as no surprise that no human could use it. The range variation and technique changes will push your unpredictable, over-aggressive method to its limit. That did not sound like a compliment at all. Do not be cross, my star, you know that I find your enthusiastic efforts to combat me adorable. Must I compliment you further? Gah. If no one uses that blade, no one can help me learn. Not per se. I will, however, spar with you so that you may grow into it. Soul weapons are designed to serve. You cannot fail at learning how to use your own. If you say so. I mumble. I snap the blade forward and upward. It whips the air, then another click in my mind, and the segments pull back to reform a sword. That was easy. You may be right. I grudgingly admit. Incredible, my star, the centuries-old master soul weaponsmith has a passable knowledge of his craft. No one could have expected such a result. I grumble a bit more. He is, of course, right. I apologize, my love. My worries got the better of me. You call me this for the first time, I believe, Tauran says in a low voice. He lifts me from the water and carries me out, towards the stairs. The blade disappears, yet it remains close. I have but to call it. You must rest. We can talk more tomorrow. My protests die on my lips as even the energy from the blood of the Fae fails to keep me awake. I wake up in a luxurious bed of smooth fabric, beneath the crimson canopy. The windows are open to the valley beyond, its tilled fields, and the yellow pinpricks of human fires. I have slept past sundown. I remove the cover from my body and inspect my surroundings. This is Tauran's bedroom. It smells like him. A small desk lies to the side covered in documents. A massive chestnut wardrobe stands half open, with male clothes hanging inside in tight rows. The walls are creme covered in paintings of mountainous landscapes, except for a single painting that I recognize only too well, an undressed Tauran by the Boston harbor. He really does look nice naked. I should look for him and make sure that he is healthy. I stand up and find a dress left on a chair back, as well as small cloth. As expected, they are my size, and I put them on before inspecting myself. The dress is made of cotton, white, with a black bodice. It fits snugly. How intriguing. I have never once worn something like that. I twirl a bit and let the hem flow. Amusing. Sadly, it shows my legs. Bah. Why should I care? I leave the room to find myself in a dark corridor lit by candles. It angles left and right towards different parts of the castle, with closed wooden doors set at regular intervals. I flash my aura and smile when Tauranzone answers me from the left. My steps lead me around the left corner and through a larger door, which houses a large library cluttered with tall shelves. Tauran stands in the middle with a smile and a book. Tonight, he wears an old-fashioned jacket that would look at home in a last-century novel, and I admit that he looks good in it. Between this and the dress, we are almost dressed for a themed party. I found the dress, I tell him by way of greeting, and turn around to let him see how fetching I am. Yes, the dress. A garment that young women used to wear when I was younger. Perhaps a bit beneath your station, but it is of excellent make, he says. Beneath my station? I ask with a mischievous smile. Would it be a peasant or servant garb then? Oh, he is a bit embarrassed. My apologies, my star, I merely wanted to feast my eyes upon. I turn around and bent to pick up a book from the ground, letting him feast his eyes to his heart's content. I sway a bit. Oh no, Millard, look at what you did to that precious book. However can I convince you to pay more attention? Powerful hands grab my waist. Do you know, dear one, that no one is allowed to enter here without my leave? I move my hips in mock struggle. Is that so? Millard would not be thinking of having his way? It turns out that Tauran did, in fact, think of having his way. We spend a very pleasant hour together, then I clean up back in his bedroom and we quickly visit the castle, starting with the third and highest floor. Tauran's domain turns out to be a curious mix of the ancient and the modern, all brought together in a strange and cozy harmony. The roof and its many spires protect a maze of small rooms, some only as large as a cabinet. In those, Tauran stored centuries of tokens and mementos. Colorful banners line the walls side by side with romantic paintings and curious astronomy contraptions. The music room conceals his organ, the music instrument, as well as a selection of sheets ranging from Gregorian songs to the latest creations from Paris, Moscow, Florence. Everywhere is art in mismatched amalgams from different eras and styles, but they all show the same love for nature and tranquility. They are all his, and not a speck of dust comes to mar them. My lover has to drag me away from every room with a laugh, especially after I demanded a music demonstration that he said he would properly demonstrate at a later time. We go down through a stair concealed behind a golden tapestry. We barely meet anyone. Tauran only has a small staff on hand. Even counting his servant, there are only a dozen people present, including a cook and a handful of guards. Blood is always obtained outside during one of his trips, and I am immediately invited to the next one. The second floor contains his rooms, the library, and guest rooms, including one from which his servant emerges wearing a night shift and nothing else. Is our guest comfortable, Nadia? Tauran asks with a knowing smile. The woman is still as bald as the day I met her, and the henna designs decorating her golden skin are slightly messy. He is pleasantly asleep. I made sure of it, she answers in a syrupy alto. Everyone is having a grand time, I see. Forget Castle Ehrenstadt. This place should be called Castle Gautlide. Tauran drags me away before my mind can torture itself with another dreadful pun. The main floor consists of the entrance and a ballroom, which also serves as a banquet room during special occasions. Staff quarters are on this level, as well as the kitchen and other functional rooms. We leave through the grand entrance and onto the courtyard, where Metis is currently trying to nibble on the placid crower's ear. No, Metis, no teasing our host. I reprimand her. Hector stands by the side, looking amused. Tauran greets him warmly in German while I inspect my surroundings. Worry had prevented me from appreciating it yesterday. Cobblestones cover the ground while the walls of polished white stone, strangely clean, float in my mind images of fairy tales. Only with Prince Charming being the monster and unicorns replaced by flesh-eating warhorses. My kind of fairy tale. I climb on Metis and follow Tauran out. He leads me down the trail, the only path out, really, and then onto a nearby plateau where a field has been prepared. A line of wood mannequins stands there, planted into the ground. Tonight, we shall test basic movements, Tauran announces as he climbs down. I imitate him and call upon Rose, I say, and bite my lip in embarrassment. You cannot go wrong with a classic, Tauran comforts me with a smile. Your sword shows both beauty and thorns. Rose is an appropriate name. Rose is a bit naive, perhaps? Nonsense. Jimena called her blade Justice, did she not? My sister is not exactly the paragon of mature decision-making. Anyway, it is done now. The blade is my rose, and my thorn. Let us see what she can do. I slice the first mannequin with a bland overhead attack. Rose goes from shoulder through the waist with the ease of scissors going through fabric. I did not even need strength. Sharp, I remark. All soul weapons are. Now, try the other side. Rose's segmented blade has two sides. One is smooth and sharp, the other shows small spines at the back of each section. I slice with what would be the back of the sword, the movement a bit unnatural. Contrary to the other side, this one shreds through the wood as if it had been mauled. The spikes are too short to lock in a foe's blade. They are here for damage. Now, try extending her. I lunge and push at the same time. Rose's segments separate and pierce through the mannequin's chest like a spear. I realize that my reach has not diminished at all. In fact, the flexibility should really help me incorporate techniques from a variety of people. I pull the blade back. On a hunch, I twist my wrist. The blade takes a snaking motion and tears the mannequin asunder. Not to worry, my star. I have prepared many more targets. Even if we run out of victims, I shall fetch a boulder for you to hone your skills. How about a spar? I asked teasingly. How do you feel? Tauran asks me instead. I consider the question seriously. I feel tired. Even though I woke up after night fell, I have little wish to move. The blood of the face still courses through your veins. Once it is spent, exhaustion will settle over you for the next few weeks while you recover from your ordeal. We will have plenty of opportunities to try our mettle afterward. Now, try whipping motions. I extend the blade mid-swipe once more. Unfortunately, the edge gets stuck into the wood this time, and I must forcefully pull it. I immediately realize my mistake and make sure to keep the blade in a state of momentum, snapping and retracting it before it can become immobile. Immobility will kill me. I massacre one target after another, then try a few moves like striking as I retreat. My rose answers me beautifully, but I am soon faced with a serious issue. I can dance around all I like. Only sparring will shed light on whether a move is merely aesthetically pleasant, or if it can be employed in the thick of battle. Unfortunately, I soon feel weary. My limbs grow heavy and awkward. Tauran notices in moments. We should stop there, my star. We will have time later. I hope this weakness will abate quickly. I would not want to be caught unaware. Tauran grabs me by my shoulders, and lifts my face to his with a touch under my chin. I realize that you have been fighting for yourself since the day you were reborn, that from the moment you emerged from obscurity, you have moved from one battlefield to another. I would like you to stop and take a deep breath, for I am Tauran of Adverb, councilman of the clan, soulsmith, and warlord, and while you have met more terrible existences than me, I assure you that there are none here. While you live on my land, you are under my protection. My sword is your sword, my castle is your shield, and anyone who comes here seeking trouble will find death. This, I swear. So sit back and relax. Enjoy this precious moment. Forget about your duties as I hold you in my arms, and enjoy your well-deserved holidays. The eye knows that you deserve them. Tope continued,